personal favorite.
Yes. Thank you, John Mark. I am Claire Walker, and today we're having an interview with John Mark Schacht, who is the choir director here at Holy Comforter. I'm going to ask John Mark to give us just a little bit of his musical history, how he got to Holy Comforter, how he became our choir director. He's done a really marvelous job with an article he wrote in The Dove, and we might bring up some of the process he uses to select the music for our Sunday morning services. John Mark?
Well, thank you, Claire. I'm happy to be able to spend this time with you and with all of you as well. My road to this position was long and winding, with many fits and starts, stops and starts, different avenues traveled along the way. But I was born and raised in San Diego, California. I was baptized and confirmed in the Episcopal Church, a medium-sized parish in the suburbs of San Diego in La Mesa, California. It was named St. Dunstan's, not a well-known saint, but a saint nonetheless. My earliest memories of my own life and church life, having a church family, go back to St. Dunstan's. I sang in, they were large enough to be able to have a youth choir and an adult choir. I sang in the children's choir. I have no doubt that me and Wally Mann and David and Mark Robinson thoroughly terrorized poor Lois Canzaneri, who was our choir director and organist. But she was patient and long-suffering, and so many of the beautiful melodies that we all enjoy, my own memories go back to those days. It was a wonderful opportunity. Some of the highlights that I recall include dressed all the way up as a wise man during Epiphany, just bellowing at the top of my lungs with probably either a soprano or alto voice, "Myrrh is mine, its bitter perfume," as I dragged my train down the aisleway for Epiphany Sunday. I believe that we also did Andrew Lloyd Webber's Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and I had the honor of playing the part of Joseph in that little production that we did. I started piano lessons when I was around 7 or 8 years old. And I started out with a quick and dirty way of learning music that a new teacher, when I was still very young, completely abandoned and insisted that I learn how to play piano the right way. So I am a classically trained musician. I started with, Bach preludes and Mozart minuets, and we went from there. I studied music through 3 years of university level training. I did not complete a degree in music, but I'm glad that I was able to put the time in as a young adult, practicing hours a day, even in high school and college. That really helped prepare me with the skill set that I am blessed to have today. I also took a very brief detour, if you will, into the world of kind of Baptist-style fundamentalist Christianity. I briefly attended and was a member of a Church of Christ, which is similar to Baptist, I think, except that they don't allow instrumental music. But they do beautiful a cappella singing, and it was there that I got exposed to some of the more American traditions as opposed to maybe just Anglo traditional music. It helped make me more well-rounded in understanding the rich history that Christian music has for us to enjoy here in our country today. And, you know, I haven't always been as close to a church family as I am now. I certainly love this parish and have been able to find my way back to my own heart through God's heart. And that's not always been the case for me. And so if you had asked me even 10 or 20 years ago, or said to me, you know, you're going to be a music director at a church in the future, I would have looked at you and I said, you're crazy. That will never happen. Maybe a lounge lizard somewhere in a bar, maybe. But a church music director? But sometimes, as we know, God has other plans for our lives.
Absolutely.
And so here I am.
And I'm glad you're here. Your story reminds me, I grew up in an Episcopal church singing in a junior choir and, you know, took piano lessons. Unfortunately, I stopped and didn't take the piano further, so my musical abilities are not as strong as I wish they were, but the music in church, the music singing in a choir is a very important part of worship for me and for a lot of people. And you look very carefully at all of the lectionary readings. I have to say, complimentary, that I've sung in a lot of choirs, but I'm very much aware that the music that you pick for Sunday morning is very, very connected to the lessons. And so you can talk to us a little bit about that.
I'm happy to do that. You know, in this time of challenge that we are living in the midst of, and I do mean the COVID pandemic has forced radical changes in the way people socialize. People of faith in some ways know this and have been affected by it, I think, more than others who are not so grounded in a tradition of communal participation, communal worship. I can tell you I am enormously grateful for the fact that I've been able to continue in some capacity as a church musician. You know, it does beg the question, I suppose, on a certain level, well, you're the choir director, and where is your choir? You don't have a choir. So what role do you serve anyhow? How do you justify your being here? I would counter through the use of some of the tools that you just pointed out. For example, I do review the lectionary readings very, very carefully. It's a good habit that Father Jerry encouraged me to adopt, and I've kept up with it. We have a church resource, the Episcopal Musicians Handbook, which pairs recommended hymns from the 1982 hymnal to go with the readings for that day. So my process includes reviewing all of those hymns. Mm-hmm. I read the Old Testament, New Testament, Psalm, and in particular the Gospel readings very, very carefully. And then I base my music selections on what the heart theme of those texts is attempting to convey for a given Sunday. Especially the gospel reading. Mm-hmm. It has been helpful, I think, but it's also critical that we make the most of what little time we have. Because we don't have a congregation right now, it does not take very long for the offertory blessing to unfold. There is no plate that is passed. It does not take very long for Father to celebrate Eucharist, unfortunately, because we have so few people in the sanctuary at this time that providing communion to everyone is a relatively short activity. So I look in particular for well-known melodies, tunes that I believe people will find as a helpful, comforting reminder of our tradition. I focus in on the words in the texts, recommending to vocalists, or if I'm singing, that we sing the verses that are most relevant and meaningful, because we only have literally a few moments to get our musical message across to everyone. Father has learned that people tend to log off the service after communion is done. Now, to be fair, the meat of the service has been delivered by that point. We have received the readings. We have heard the message expounded upon during the sermon. We have celebrated Eucharist, and things are wrapping up. But in an attempt to keep people from logging off, after that time, we've now included adding some additional vocalists, like our wonderfully talented Eric Bro, who has a lovely singing voice and is doing a very, very good job of helping to carry those vocal soloists forward. So I hope that what we're doing is meaningful to all of you out there. I hope that you're able to download the bulletins, and frequently the hymns are contained in there. I encourage you to sing along as you're able. I encourage you to read the text of those hymns also, because they're meant to accompany the readings that we have today.
So something that I just thought of, it's called an earworm in musical circles. Do you ever look for those hymns that will stick with people through the rest of the week? I mean, do you consciously ever notice that?
I hope so. I certainly hope so. Occasionally, Father Jerry and he once shared that term with me as well. He is a big fan of having that earworm digging its way into somebody's heart and soul, especially as they're getting ready to leave church. But it's my hope that with familiar melodies that they will become a memorable earworm to
Take with you throughout the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you'd like to share with us?
Just between you and I, it's been marvelous. It's been a great journey having you in the choir. I've been so blessed to have a beautiful choir, and I look forward to the day that we can gather together. We don't know when that will be, sadly, but I have faith that we will be together and raising our voices in song once more together. I will miss your readings. I will miss hearing your voice read, especially at times during Lent and Ash Wednesday. You have a gifted reading voice.
Thank you.
And I will simply leave you with, the Lord bless you and keep you.
Thank you.
The Lord make his face to shine upon you and give you peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'd give you a big old hug, but we're socially distanced. So
COVID hug.
COVID
Elbows.
hug. Thank you, John Mark.
Thank you.